When we talk about the sustainability, we talk about environment, so obviously there are critical areas there. So we talk about nitrogen, for instance, nitrogen release, and yesterday you mentioned in Denmark the constraints and so on. Today, do you think that this is well targeted, that we can still improve? Everybody is enough educated to take care about the nitrogen, phosphorus release and so on. What are your feeling on this evolution on the nutrition management and so on?
Who are you speaking about when you say
on
everyone?
Different countries.
For farmers or
farmers, professionals and so on. Because Europe is well, I would say, involved in that. Do you think that in all countries people are concerned about this environment? The decrease on the load on the environment.
It's true that in our countries, due to the high level of production, the number of animals, with also dairy cows, poultry, we have a lot of big environmental pressure for decades.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps in countries where it's not presently completely the same case. They will be able to capitalize on the knowledge and the know-how we have developed in Europe.
I know that IFIP in France and Denmark is also involved in education, not education, but I would say advice to the, for instance, Chinese swine industry and so on. The demand is mainly on the management to get more productivity, or they also take care about the environment, about the welfare of the animal and so on?
There's certainly a change in China as well. When I was in China, when you were 10 years ago, for instance, if you were building a piggery, you built that on a mountain or the top of the hill, because, excuse my language, shit runs downwards, and then it was away, it disappeared, and we over a couple of years have seen quite a dramatic reduction in sow numbers in China, because the Chinese administration over paying attention to environmental issues. So it's not to the same extent as in Denmark, but there's a huge shift in China as well, and awareness that their production for the future needs to be to take environmental impact into consideration. And to be honest, it's a huge waste if you have all these wonderful nutrients and you just dump them into a river where they create massive problems instead of using them for other parts of the agricultural sector.
So everybody is moving more and more in that direction too, so taking care about the environment and so on. And you think welfare, for instance, will be also something important for the future? For all countries, as we see actually, for instance, the demedication or the withdrawal or ban of antibiotics and so on, it's spreading everywhere in the world. So you think that the same type of issue will appear in lots of countries, like welfare concern?
I think about welfare, it's a European problem at start. Because we have association who are very aware about this problem, and it's not the same in Asia, or the same pressure is not at the same level. But for the future, I think it will be developed in this country too.
Yeah. And Nathalie, you're going to talk later on about the electrolyte balance. That's a topic that is not often addressed in a lot of production. I've often considered that people arriving in the industry, they just use the same rules or the same ways than their predecessors, I would say. But there are some possibilities also to improve the efficiency of the production by a good management of the electrolytes and so on.
Well, there have been some habits for years.
Yeah.
If you use only soybean, corn soybean diets, of course you do not have so many solutions to formulate your diet. But as soon as you incorporate a very different feedstuff, and especially with the possibility to use grade synthetic amino acid and the constraint for a better environment, the tendency was to reduce crude protein level and maintaining essential amino acid. And doing that, you obtain completely different diets, and you do not modify only the non-essential amino acid, but also other components in the diet, especially electrolytes, for example. That's why we focus a little bit on this topic. Well, we know that we can formulate with a range of values that is wider than for energy amino acids in order to meet requirements. But it's interesting to have a look at the other components of the diet when you change completely the paradigm of formulation.
And when you use an enzyme, for instance, that might affect also the absorption of, I would say, the main element, calcium, phosphorus, but also sodium and so on, do you have to adjust your electrolyte balance at the same time? Because it's often not taken care by people.
No. I didn't know you would spoke about minerals, etc. I think that probably presently the minerals is the topic that has to be worked much more than presently.
Yeah.
Because dealing with digestibility of calcium, for example, is something that is not done. Not taken into account formulation, and
it's quite a too cheap element, so people are not considering.
Too cheap for for decades also, and now we can deal with net digestible or net energy, digestible amino acids, digestible phosphorus. The next candidate, I think, is calcium, because if you impair the calcium supply, then you can put some phosphorus in the slurry pit instead of in the pig. So we have to be more precise on this knowledge. Yeah. So I wait for data on knowledge on this nutrient, for example.
And finally, regarding
then enzymes, there will be there are some interactions with as soon as you modify digestibility, then you modify also the amount of supply and interaction. As soon as there are interactions between components of the diet, it becomes a new field of investigation that is very motivating.
Yesterday we had some discussion on trace elements, on I would say more small minerals and so on. I would say, and people were talking about zinc, about copper, and so on. So the constraint on the environment. Do you think that it will be an evolution also to put emphasis on we need to reduce the release in the environment of copper, zinc, and other type of elements?
We need to reduce the release, and we also need to improve the efficiency of utilization, because resources are not available
are not unlimited.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
Then we have also to deal with that, to take this into consideration, to improve efficiency, also for sustainability
and finally, just to conclude for all of you, what are your key message for the future, and or your key question that you want to address in your position, or that you think is important for the swine industry in the future? Who wants to start?
I can start.
Yeah,
for me, first is the image of pig production. So we have to improve or to maintain the level of a good image of this production, after the level of the quality of the meat, raw meat, because we will use less and less additive or ingredients at the step of the processing industry, because the consumer ask for a more natural products. So the raw meat at the start, the quality
need to be correct,
to be correct, and easy for the processing industry to transform.
So it's a good opportunity also for the nutritionist to intervene before, instead of actually
to have the defect at the processing level.
Your element, Nathalie.
Compared to the situation today, my own opinion would be, it would be nice in a close future. The pig producer can be happy of his work, of doing his work, breeding his animal, because he is also involved in welfare, not only association. It's important for farmers, and also it would be nice if he's happy of his work, happy of his product, and also happy to be surrounded by happy citizens around that enjoy eating his meat he produced, and also living in the environment around the farm.
Yeah, thank you. And Christian.
Yeah, I think we already touched on most of the subjects. We will see a continuous development of the industry all over Europe. That goes on animal welfare, that goes on sustainability, that goes on antibiotic usage. That's a journey we are on together, and we will see continuous development within those areas. So what I'm more interested in, but what would be the next jump forward? And for instance, if we are talking sustainability, is it we are still dealing with the monogastric animals that basically is eating what people could be eating? So let's perhaps we should dream or be very ambitious. Could we refine, biorefine grass products, pull out the protein, and then process that in some way, and then feed that to monogastric animals? That is not a technology that will be available tomorrow. It might never come, but perhaps we should together try to invest in those areas as well.
Good future. So we see a lot of job for the future and a lot of work to do. So thank you very much for your participation this morning, and I wish you a good seminar today.